with an invocation by Sri Prasanna.
Mahaganapatim manasa, Mahaganapatim manasa, Marami 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 Mahaganapatim manasa, Mahadevasutam, Mahadevasutam, Guru Guhanutam, Mahadevasutam, Guru Guhanutam, Mahadevasutam, Guru Guhanutam, Maharakoti Prakasham Shatam, Mahadevasutam, Guru Guhanutam, Maharakoti Prakasham Shatam, Mahakabhinatagadi Priyam, Mahakabhinatagadi Priyam, Mushikavagana Modaka Priyam, Mahakabhinatagadi Priyam, Mushikavagana.
The distinguished guests.
Honorable Chief Minister, Sri Patel, Dr. Jamshed Baba, distinguished members of the Karnataka government, associates of NIAS, distinguished academicians from various centers of research, ladies and gentlemen. It is my pleasure as the Director of the National Institute of Advanced Studies to welcome all of you, particularly the Prime Minister, who has made it possible to be here in spite of his many pressing engagements. This dedication ceremony of naming the auditorium in memory of the late Sri J.R.D. Tata is no ordinary occasion. As you all know, Sri J.R.D. Tata, known affectionately to many of his senior colleagues as J, was a man of the entire century. He was born in 1904, and very early in life he took up heavy responsibilities in the Tata organization and kept himself busy in creative and modern management activity right to the very end. The secret of his success was that he never forgot the humanitarian approach in all that he had to do. His idea of starting an institute of the type of NIAS is an old one. It was in his mind for decades, but various misunderstandings as to the nature of the institute did not get the program off the ground. Strangely enough, one of the reasons was his insistence on a firm grounding in mathematics. This has now become essential with the coming of computers, but his ideas came from his knowledge of the celebrated École Grande in France, which had been started by Napoleon I himself. They watched for a suitable opportunity, and several years passed by, during which time he had the proposal examined by a special committee. At about the time when I was due to retire from government service, I was probably suffering from the blues of retirement. I was called for a lunch with him, and with great politeness that he always showed to others, he asked me to take over the starting of this institute. I'm pretty certain that my present chairman, Dr. Jamshed J. Baba, has no small part in recruiting my services. It is not that the matter was just left to me to plan the special nature of this institute. Before I joined, it was followed by a series of serious discussions with both J and Jamshed Baba. I especially recall one very important meeting in Mr. Baba's house, where Mr. Tata was also present, concerning the philosophy of the institute, especially when it was decided that it should not be another management institution. The first activity of this institute was a participation program at the Tata Management Training Center, Pune, in 1989, as we did not have any buildings of our own and had an academic staff of just two of us, Professor Ravi Kapoor and myself. We, however, invited distinguished lecturers for the program from all over India, and I am grateful to these fine men and women who immediately responded and made this first course a success. It was through these participation courses the aim and purpose of our institute began to get defined, and the idea of working in an atmosphere where integrated knowledge and development became the key words. One of the most effective and influential one was in which Mr. McNamara of the USA also participated, and the program was funded by the Rockefeller Foundation. Besides doing high-quality research in complex fields, which could benefit by the overlapping of one with the other, we also took into account the fact that we are in Karnataka, and therefore we had to do something connected with Karnataka. It was for this purpose the Institute created a cell on women's policy research and advocacy to collect and analyze data from actual field studies. A report has already been produced, which will be a program for the amelioration of some of the badly treated sectors of humanity. We have had the support of eminent professors such as Professor M. N. Srinivas, who is an eminent sociologist and an expert on caste, and Professor B. V. Srikantan, who was formerly director of the Tata Institute of Fundamental Research, Bombay, and well known for his studies on cosmic rays. Under the unit of philosophy of science, he and his collaborators have been working on the subject of consciousness, and I have been pursuing a new approach to nuclear physics. One of the important studies which has an overall impact on our development is the study of psychology, and we have a health and human behavior unit headed by Professor Kapoor, who has been investigating the causes of violence and the atmosphere needed for creativity among scientists. Professor C. V. Sundaram, who was director of the Indira Gandhi Center for Atomic Research, is with us, looking into the energy and educational problems of the country. It will become too long to enumerate all our activities, and I shall only name them. We have a unit on environment for studying the reduction of the effect of insecticides and pesticide poisoning effects in soil and water. This is being done in association with the Indian Institute of Science. We have a unit on epigraphy, and we have the largest collection of epigraphy material to assist archaeologists in their work by the use of computers, and is supported by the Indian Space Research Organization. We also have an important group on the study of nuclear problems involving nuclear armaments, nuclear testing, and allied political issues. There is also a small unit on music to understand its physical and aesthetic structure, with special emphasis on Purandaradasa's works. It is not our intention to become a large institution. Even the 50 that we are seems sufficient. However, the institution is based on the principle that if we can find leaders capable of contributing in a creative way to developing new fields of knowledge, we'll be happy to initiate and encourage that activity. It was originally proposed that we have a lecture hall for about 300 people, essentially for what we call associate lectures, which we hold once a month, to which many people from the city of Bangalore come. After the death of Jay, we had to take notice of the fact that the NIAS was his creation and one of his last inspirations to assist the country in new ways. Before his death, he had expressed his appreciation of the work that had been done here, and once informally made the statement that every 10 years there should be an institute which should be started by the Tatas in different combinations of knowledge and activities. Be that as it may, it is only right that we should create a memorial to a man of such wide vision and nationalism, with so much concern to make the country a great one. The auditorium which is being dedicated in his name is a comparatively small one, but but we have made every effort to see that it is the finest of all of its kind from the point of view of acoustics, comfort, and for use in a variety of activities. These include music concerts, experimental theatre, seminars, exhibitions, etc. It is for this reason the floor of the auditorium is flat, but at the same time, all that happens on the stage is clearly projected so that nothing is lost by the viewers. For ideas of this type, we are grateful to Dr. Jamshed Bawa, whose fund of knowledge in matters of the performing arts knows no end. He has created the National Center for the Performing Arts in Bombay, and all that experience came to us through the architects in Bombay. I would like to mention the name of Mr. Manohar in this connection. I would also like to make a special reference to the controller of the Institute, Major General M.K. Paul, who had spent hours and days looking into small details to make sure that the auditorium was truly a befitting offering to the memory of such a great man as Jahangir Ratanji Dadabhai Tata. Thank you very much.
By presenting them with a set of publications by various wings of NIAS faculty. I now request Dr. J. J. Bawa, Chairman of our Institute, to kindly address.
The Honorable Chief Minister of Karnataka, Sri J.H. Patel, and all distinguished persons present today who are honoring us with their presence at this inauguration of this memorial to J.R.D. Tata. My close friend and colleague, Dr. Radha Ramana, Vice Chairman of NIAS, who continues at my request to hold the position of Director, for which he had originally been selected by Sri J.R.D. Tata himself. All the distinguished, apart from the numerous registered public institutions and philanthropic trusts, big and small, which he promoted or fostered, with his vision and personal input. In addition to the many giant corporate organizations which he headed as chairman of the apex firm of Tata Sons Limited and group chairman of the Tata organization. In retrospect, it seems miraculous that he covered so much ground in his lifetime. Among his many personal qualities was matchless self-discipline. He believed in starting each working week with a clean slate, and so every weekend he would take home an office box of all pending papers requiring his approval, decision, or signature, so that he had a clean office table when he got back to his desk at the beginning of the working week. The National Institute of Advanced Studies has a long history which has been well summarized in the small illustrated brochure which is with you all. I will only focus on the final form this institution has taken. With this characteristic impulse of seeing the other person's point of view, he felt the need for representatives of the central and state governments and related governmental bodies such as the armed forces and the railways and other public institutions of transport and communication to meet in the forum of NIAS, or NIAS as it's called, for a period of weeks. The corresponding representatives of company executives and other NGOs. He correctly foresaw at such friendly and get-togethers extending beyond discussions, seminars and workshops to social meetings over lunch and dinner, that each would get to see, understand and appreciate the difficulties and viewpoints of the other side. While such friendly and meaningful encounters continue to be held, the NIAS, under the leadership of Dr. Raja Ramana, has successfully gone into many collaborative programs, both at the national and international level. Auditorium and the acoustic reflective polycylinders which you see there, as well as these slits which you see on each side, which are not just slits. They are stuffed at different levels with reflective material and non-reflective material, so that you have the perfection of the acoustic. And we owe that to Bhadra Mistry. And I think we should pay a tribute to him by recognizing this in the future publication of the annals. To curtail the time of my address and not impose on our Prime Minister, who has a very busy schedule, I may just mention some of the precepts and value systems which govern J.R.D. Tata, his conduct all his life. They are enshrined in words which should be featured in an appropriate place in this memorial auditorium, and which I shall briefly summarize. He stated that in all situations demanding action, careful study and deep thought is needed. We should avoid being carried away by slogans and catchphrases and learn to think for ourselves. We should, in all our work, aim at perfection, and in that endeavor achieve at least excellence. As the great Michelangelo said, trifles make perfection, but perfection is no trifle. Above all, we should aim at good human relations in all our classes, and they will be the richest legacy of our brief lifetime in this world. In conclusion, I offer again my heartfelt thanks to our Prime Minister, the Chief Minister of South Africa, and all the distinguished public figures and friends for honoring the NIAS with their presence today. Thank you very much.
May I now request our Honorable Chief Minister, Sri A.K. Patel, to sign the address. Our beloved Prime Minister, Sri H.D. Devegowda, Dr. Bhava, our affectionate friend Dr. Rajaramana, and other distinguished guests. I was just trying to see the Gangatumpo, and more than 1.5 to 2 lakh people were there. And entire attention and the discussion was about how to improve literacy in India, how to make our people understand the rest of the world, how to understand our own voice, Hindi. And in the afternoon, we attended a function where Dharma, a very abstract subject, of course, almost unknown to politicians, but we try to understand it. So in that session, we try to understand what is to be done and what is not to be done, do's and don't do. There, one of our great judges and great friend of ours, Rama Joyce, has written a book on Dharma. So now this is an institute on advanced sciences. So what kind of advanced science do we need now? Advanced science to check the population growth, advanced science to produce more agricultural products, advanced science to check and control in this country what is all going on, which is wildlife, this and almost we have reached a stage. We are really second to none in some of the subjects. We can compete with any country so far as our knowledge is concerned. Our faculties are concerned. Our scientists are concerned. And of course I have seen only Ratan Tata recently, but I have not seen JRD. As far as I have read about him, for making modern India, of course for making India free Mahatma Gandhi, and to give a modern outlook Jawaharlal Nehru, and to combine all these strange character of states into one nation, Sardar Patel, and also give some kind of an industrial orientation to India was there. This is what I have read. Now, so many things are coming into our country. So many ideas are coming. So many energies are coming. Capital is coming. But still, my humble question to Rajaramana, he is one of our regarded, one of the proudest sons of Karnataka. I'm not looking at that angle, but as a great son of India. What are we as a government? We cannot find some kind of a magic van and see that all are employed and the agriculture is growing. This and that can't be done. Practically, we are facing such a situation wherein we are passing through many crises. Industrial, political, socio-economical, and above all, cultural. We are passing through this crisis. So what do? Advanced science. Okay. Let us make our boys more educated, let them understand the subjects very well. But how are we going to put it back into service to solve the problem? And our Prime Minister, he is working overtime just to find out which was the problem which had not been looked into so far in the last 50 years. Because he was not a scholar, he doesn't claim to be a scholar, and he never went on working for the world peace and SALT, SIS and all these kind of international conglomerations. He just went there and found out how many people are really in India. Nearly 46,000 villages in Uttar Pradesh itself, they have no school. And 70% of Orissa is suffering without even ordinary, elementary subsistence. That way, compared to North India, at least Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, Kerala, we are much better. And all these kind of mysteries and secrets, of course nobody was prepared to discuss about these things. And perhaps you also do not know. There are 140 companies which are zero tax. Amongst them, Tata's also one. Birla's name. And similar. Of course, the sacrifice and the contribution that Birlas and Tatas have done, we should not undermine. But after 50 years of independence, you have still 35% illiterate, 42% below poverty line, and you have 7 lakh crore debt, 7 lakh crore internal and external debt. This year itself, Mr. Chidambaram had to provide nearly 85,000 crores as debt service. So what kind of study we have to do? Please. What kind of study? For having said this, our Prime Minister, Baba, he is a villager, he doesn't know anything, because he looks only to these things. He doesn't want to discuss about world peace with Yeltsin, and of course he is going to meet Yeltsin tomorrow. And going to convince Clinton about what to do and not to do. And of course he has not even cared to see Mr. Saddam Hussein. So our Prime Minister is basically interested in our villages and what has not been done in the last 50 years. So at least some of us, we have to understand, we have to do, not that I do not claim for a moment that Indian intellectuals are second to anybody. We are the best of intellectuals. So that's why in a place like this, of course all great lovers of this country, those who have worked for this country in different fields, and you know, and if there is a body which is paralyzed, and if the whole body is not taken into consideration, if you don't cure this paralyzation of a sector, of a part of our country, so that's why how to cure this, so that everyone in our country can think of what is to be done. Now, as politicians, yesterday I was giving an example. We go to the voters, we treat him as Bambateshwara, and we become little pygmies, like Vamana. After the election, we come to power, and we become Bambateshwaras, and that fellow becomes Vamana. This has been our bitter experience in the last 50 years. Because this problem should not be left to politicians alone. So our Prime Minister is a man who understands the problem, who wants to do something, not discuss and all that. So I'm so happy that, because Raja Ramanna is not only a scientist, a man who is interested in the welfare of the country, welfare of the city, welfare of the people around. So I am so thankful to you for having, so far as our state government is concerned. Baba Sahab ko hum itna कहना चाहता हूँ. Bangalore is still to be made fit enough for the potential to grow. Bangalore has the largest potential of growth in India, even better than Bombay. So that's why we have to now take assistance from other countries and other corporate sector to see that Bangalore becomes a fit enough place for working. Almost all multinationals are coming. And now we have one Singapore technology park, and even transportation, communication are really, we have to do something, but as head of the state here, certain things I can't, because during assembly session, I have a very strong opposition, physically. So that I have to deal with them, and I am looking to our Prime Minister to at least save me from so many pressures here in the state and do something for Karnataka so that we can do something for an institute like this, which will in turn benefit the mankind. Thank you very much. Jai Hind, Jai Hind.
Finally, I request Sri Devegowda, Honorable Prime Minister of India, to kindly say a few words.
Honorable Chief Minister Sri J. Patel ji, Dr. J. A. Baba, Dr. Raja Ramana, Major General Power, distinguished invitees, ladies and gentlemen, and media persons. It gives me great pleasure to be here with all of you and participate in this function organized to remember the monumental contributions made by the late J.R.D. Tata to our country, and to dedicate this beautiful auditorium and center in the campus of the National Institute of Advanced Studies to his revered memory. On such a momentous occasion, it is appropriate to first recall the great vision of Sri Jamshedji Naseerwanji Tata, the founder father of the Falkland Tata Enterprises at the turn of the century. When our political freedom was still far away, Jamshedji Tata had the foresightedness to recognize the importance of steep electric power and scientific education and research for India to become a strong, self-reliant nation in the world. It was through his far-reaching initiative that one of the largest integrated steel plants, even at that point in time, came to be established at Jamshedpur. The beginning was made to organize electric power industry in the then state of Bombay and a pre-eminent institution devoted to advanced sciences and engineering education and research come to be located right here in Bangalore in a spacious campus adjoining this very institute. These were strong initiatives which took concrete shape after J.M. Tata's time. Activities that the initiative have grown from strength to a greater strength and served as models in the field of nation building. It is to the lasting credit of the successors of J.M. Tata in the great Tata family that they have not only kept his dreams alive, but added new dimensions to his vision and kept the torch of human enterprise burning bright in the country. Today, the name of Tata as a household name in the country, synonymous with quality and excellence. In all this multidimensional growth, one can see the stamp of leadership and the genius of J.R.D. Tata, who presided over the vast empire with great distinction for well over half a century. J.R.D. Tata was a great patriot who believed that the country has all the potential to grow into a prosperous modern nation and who worked unceasingly towards that goal. In order to being a model captain of industry, he was sensitive humanist. with great concern for the underprivileged. His wide-ranging concerns extended to the areas of education, population control. He knew the value of modern science and with commendable foresight gave solid support to Homi Bhabha and Vikram Sarabhai and the development of the atomic energy and space programs. He was an institution builder, a model employer, and above all, a warm-hearted, cultivated individual who endeared himself to everyone he came into contact with. Naturally, in the evening of his life, the government honored him with the high title of Bharat Ratna. I understand that this institute, which is an advanced center for learning, has multiple objectives. Firstly, it has been conducting a residential and participatory course titled An Integrated Approach to Knowledge and Information for persons in senior executive positions both from public and private sector organizations. The objective is to create a new awareness in people in responsible positions that will be valuable to them in formulating policy and taking important decisions. It is clear to me that the intellectual enlightenment provided by these courses is of unique character. All organizations and institutions, particularly from the industrial sector, should take advantage of this important initiative on the part of Dr. Raja Ramanna and his team. I also noticed that in the course of its short history, the Institute has built up an active and an eminent faculty and a good blend of experience and youth, and set up study groups in important areas such as of human behavior, creativity, energy, and the environment, status of women, particularly in the rural districts of Karnataka, and their empowerment, international and strategic studies, scientific and philosophical study of human consciousness, social anthropology, and epigraphy. It is indicative of both competence and the concern of the Institute in analyzing the problems of societal development, and we are deeply indebted to the Institute for the important work it has undertaken. This institution in Bangalore has attained a great stature, and I convey my good wishes for its continuous growth. The latest addition to this beautiful campus is this modern multipurpose auditorium, which will be a great asset to the city of Bangalore. Dedicating this auditorium as J.R.D. Tata Memorial Auditorium is decidedly a befitting homage to late J.R.D. Tata. I consider it is my proud privilege to inaugurate and dedicate this auditorium to his memory. Jai Hind.
Thanks to all those who have contributed in rich measure to this evening's memorable event. First and foremost, we are deeply grateful and indebted to our esteemed Prime Minister, Sri H.D. Devegowda, who amidst his onerous responsibilities and engagement, provided the time to be with us to inaugurate and dedicate this auditorium, set up here as a beautiful and purposeful memorial for our beloved founder, J.R.D. Tata. We consider it as the most auspicious beginning, and we thank you, sir, for your gracious support and encouragement, which is precious to us. We are also very happy that both Sri J.H. Patel, Sri Chief Minister of Karnataka, would be present with us this evening. We owe to him for his keen interest he took during the construction phase of the auditorium and the resources we found for us in implementing this scheme. It will not be possible for me to mention and thank all those who have taken part in interior, sound, air conditioning, firefighting, etc. Firstly, our sincere thanks to our architect, Mrs. Patel, Bhattiwala, Manohar and Associates of Bombay. We will always remember Mr. Manohar, Mr. Bhattiwala Mistri, Mrs. Sandar Suklabhaya. The architectural features provided in the auditorium is a prominent aesthetic presence in the Nias campus. The motif chosen for the exterior architecture, the sloping roofs clear with bright Spanish tiles from mangrove and archways in the corridors, essentially the same adopted in the main building that has already come up. In fact, the distinctive features had been suggested to the architect by late Sri Tata at the time of original planning. The use of local granite had a special appeal for him. Even at the cost of reputation, I must highlight the distinctive features in the acoustic design in the use of polycylinders which are diffusing resonators in the side walls. Though they appear to be monolithic, are actually made up of multiple resonators individually tuned, some using air as the medium and others with different types of glass and packing. Our utmost thanks to Mr. Bhargav Mistri, who has put in all his efforts in designing the acoustic sound, hall and the stage lighting. In fact, almost all internal details of the auditorium are specifically designed by Mr. Bhargav Mistri, who is an expert in this field. We would like to thank Mrs. Micron Electricals, headed by Mr. Subarna and his team, who has done an excellent job of electrification, not only in the auditorium but also substation, including installation of standby generator. We thank Mr. FMS System for provision of firefighting, which is a foolproof one and designed on the principle of wet drying. We would like to thank Mrs. Voltas for fine-tuning the air conditioning system in the auditorium. We thank Mr. Jafarullah Khan and Mr. Naimullah Khan, who have come from Bombay, and his team of Mrs. Samuel Enterprises, who actually converted Mr. Bhargav Mistri's planning into action on this ground. We would like also to thank Mrs. Kannada Industries for providing all good lighting systems. Though we thank all the contractors who have provided all these facilities in the auditorium, the entire housing has been done by a civil contractor, Messrs. Barucha and Bhattiwala, and we thank Mr. Barucha and his team. This auditorium has been in the thought process of each and every faculty members, and mostly the senior members have been suggesting improvements from time to time. I thank them all. Dr. Rajaramana, whose constant support, encouragement, and advice on final details, including that of acoustic, has been a source of great strength to us. We would like to thank our manager and all tradesmen, helpers, and gardeners who have been responsible for presenting the auditorium in its present form today. And finally, ladies and gentlemen, let me thank all of you who have made us feel proud by responding to our invitation and added schedule to this function. Now I have great pleasure on behalf of the Institute to invite all of you for tea in the adjoining Samiana, which we call Green Hall. Thank you.